Business heads into the topic of discussion of the day, and clearly to see how we are going to mitigate issues in regards to an economy comeback. Because the COVID-19 pandemic greatly caused a shock to economies not only in Uganda but across the world and across the globe, where most of the countries are trying so much to restabilize and make sure they rejuvenate their economies. And that brings us to the topic of the day today, which is saying how can the country finance the country's economic comeback from the pandemic. And with me in studio, I do have a representative coming in from one of the major banks in the country who is going to take us through this. Let me give him the opportunity to introduce himself, and we shall definitely continue. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes,
my name is Aaron Akampa. I currently head the direct digital and e-commerce at Stanbic Bank. I'm glad to be at Smart24. Very excited.
We are humbled to have you. So, and in that regard, so you're running the digital.
Yes, so I'm running our SME franchise. I also look after the digital and e-commerce agenda for the bank. So
you're the person who is behind the pushing of the e-commerce. That means the one who is into the mobile banking. Is that the same part as well?
Yeah, we pride ourselves as an organization in trying to solve our customers' needs, and with the pandemic and everything that has transpired over the last few years, digital becomes very, very important as a medium of serving our customers. So we try to enhance our digital capabilities to better serve our customers every day.
So now, for you as a person who is actually in the economic sector, more so in the banking, I would want us to start from there. How was the economy? Let us first try to vary around and see how was the economy before and how is it now. But first, how was the economy before the COVID situation came into play?
So the economy was in a much better place, obviously. I mean, we're seeing growth in some of the key sectors around service. Our tourism sector was thriving. We had steady GDP growth. So the country was heading into the right direction. The anticipation for the final investment decision for oil and gas, even in 2019, was coming up quickly. So I would say prior to the pandemic, we were ready for takeoff as a country. A lot of infrastructure development, a lot of push to create jobs for the economy. And on the flip side, post-pandemic, I can't say it's been the same. First of all, we can't run away from the fact that people have lost their loved ones, who have been sick, and for that, we are deeply empathetic with the country. But for our businesses, they've really struggled, both the small and even the bigger businesses. So certain sectors, if you think about education, if you think about tourism, that are just completely on their knees. I mean, the education space has an ecosystem around it. It's not just the schools that are shut down. We have all these teachers and food suppliers and all these companies that are just struggling through the pandemic, just trying to stay open and keep their doors open. So there's been a big hit, but it's not all dark. I mean, there's sectors that have thrived. We've seen a strong performance from the services, the telecom industry, as use of cash has moved to a more digital space. The healthcare sector, as strained as it's been, has also seen some shifts and some growth. And of course, the e-commerce space, which is where you find your delivery type companies, they're thriving through the pandemic. But the majority of our businesses have really struggled, and we're starting to see it with some of the big boys taking the pain as well.
Because we've seen a number of investors, foreign investors, talk about big franchises in terms of ShopRite now leaving business in Uganda, Sinafricell trying to leave Uganda. Now that is where I want to bring into the financial institutions. How are you trying to see that you're going to strengthen Uganda's economy? Because I think from a view of the financial institutions, you are the key players in this sector, and I think you know how everything is flowing around.
Yeah.
So how are you as the financial part, how are you going to actually see that we're getting back to the stability that we're actually going to before the pandemic stepped in?
So contrary to common opinion, the recovery of the economy can't be a sole responsibility of the financial sector services industry. We have to do our part, but there's other factors that are going to drive that. And for us, I can speak for Stanbic as an institution, we have to think about economic recovery or post-pandemic recovery on two fronts. It's not a matter of pumping money into the economy. Our businesses have taken hits. Are they strong enough? Do we have strong enough institutions to absorb some of this money that may be made available? So one of our biggest programs is through our business incubator, the Stanbic incubator, which is doing business mentorship and trainings for our businesses to help them think and thrive. So you get out of a survival mode and try and see how do we thrive as businesses. So of course money is important.
Sure thing.
So but before you gave money, at the peak of the pandemic, we had to give relief to our customers, offer them moratoriums. If you think, as I've mentioned schools as an example, we have over 12,000 schools that
having accounts with you,
that have accounts with us that we have to think about. And these, I mean, a classic example, we have encountered and interacted with teachers who are currently doing construction work or being builders at construction sites. We have to think about that person, right?
Yes.
So we decided to take an approach where we have set up an economic restart fund, and what that fund is supposed to do is target economic recovery or restart by definition of the name. And we felt the best avenue to go through it is one that addresses the last mile, and that's our SACCOs and VSLs. We have over 18 million people in Uganda who are saving through our SACCOs and our cooperatives. And we've set up that fund to not only offer them liquidity at very low interest rates, but also provide them with the digitization support to bring them into the digital age, but also build capacity and offer them the training support that I described earlier through the incubator to holistically pull them up, because there's been a lot of depletion of our people's savings. I mean, people have to survive. It's not like they have jobs that are running. And I think that's going to be one of our avenues for economic recovery. Of course, agriculture is the backbone. We need to think very carefully about that and work collaboratively with the government around incentivizing our farmers both for food and cash crops to ensure that there's a sustainable food supply for the country. You don't want to deal with hungry people. I think that is very clear for all of us. So economic recovery is not it's not a one-day thing. It's not a flip of a button. It's not a flip of you don't just switch on and switch off and the economy has recovered. It's a gradual process of carefully thought out plans and strategies, and working collaboratively between the financial services industry and government to push this recovery journey.
If I have to ask, what is the proper way of management if we are to say now we're on a journey, because it's a gradual process like you say, and we want to look at what is the proper management of seeing that we are going to take this step by step and eventually reach to the stability, because we are really trying as much as a country to see that we stabilize it, in the fact that most of the sectors had already been put to unhealth. Speaking of the SMEs, most of them were not operating for quite some time.
Yeah.
But the question would be, what is the proper management procedures of funding other financial institutions that are going to be put on board?
So when you think about funding of our SMEs that have been closed, it's one thing to offer SMEs money, but and is another thing in their ability to absorb that money and utilize it adequately.
Okay.
So when you give a small business money that they're not ready to absorb, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be either diverted into something that it shouldn't, or people will go and purchase land, or no one is saying don't buy land, but if you sacrifice your business operations for a land purchase, you're going to fail to repay that loan in the long run. So we have to sensitize our businesses first and foremost on what does credit management mean. And then we have to then work through our trader associations, the likes of Casita, to get to the trader, get to the SMEs, and then solve their needs. We have a very interesting proposition called Subula Express that provides a link between our traders in country and China. Okay. So right now it's near impossible to get into China, but our traders, that's their main import hub. That's where they're getting all their goods from. So right now they're having to rely on phone calls and previous transactions and hoping and praying that goods arrive as ordered. What we're doing is we are working with through a partner agency who is positioned in China with access to over 25,000 manufacturers. So we then provide that link, and then you know that there's a security. You have a sure way that your goods are actually going to arrive with the specifications, eliminating risk from the trader, but also providing him with the variety. So, as I said, there's no button that you're going to switch on and expect that things are just going to go back to normal. But we have to, each and every one of us, do our part. And then credit, when you introduce credit into that organized environment, it then adds value. To say, we'll just give out loans to SMEs, or we'll just give out loans to, would be reckless lending, and it hurts the economy in the long run. So you don't want to break something that with all the good intentions you might have. There has to be clarity, there has to be structure, order, and we have to work with the community leaders and the groups, I mentioned Casita, to get us to that point.
Okay, now I've heard these stories of the fact that, and business stories coming through where that our public debt did rise by 7% in a flip of just a year. And the bigger worry is it better for us to continue borrowing as a country, or can we use the available resources according to the state that we're in? Do you think we should continue?
It's a good question. So the age-old debate around, do you borrow more or do you utilize what you have? Borrowing is not bad. I mean, if borrowing was bad, I wouldn't have a job, right?
Yes, sure thing.
But it's what are you borrowing for?
And how are you going to use it?
Yes. Are we borrowing for government spend on activities that are going to enhance the economy? Or are we borrowing for things that may not necessarily add long-term future value, right?
Yeah.
So increasing debt for the right reasons is not a bad thing, right? There has to be a balance, of course. The alternative that you're suggesting, to say that let's utilize our own monies or resources, those are limitless. They're limited, right? You don't want to also tax your people to the ground. So my opinion on this is if we are borrowing for the right reasons, if we are borrowing for growth for activities or initiatives that are going to bring future value to the country, that's okay with me. If it's for unproductive use, and who am I to judge? I am not for that.
Okay. Now, there is one thing I want to bring you into. During the lockdown, we had issues in regards to loan recoveries, more so with people who have already applied loans, let's say, in the financial institutions. And most of the people have, a number of people did lose property in the due course because of the fact that maybe their time frame was already done and they could not be able to pay these loans. The question is, how do the financial institutions actually carry out this activity? Is there any situation you've incurred into, for let me say Stanbic Bank, that you have people who have actually applied for loans for the last 2 years, and in this situation they have totally failed? Is there any chance that most of them are going to recover?
So that's a good question, and thank you for that. We took a deliberate decision in March of 2020 that we are going to be there for our customers, and that we're going to provide our customers with the necessary relief to take them through the pandemic. At the time, it was impossible to predict how long this was going to happen, but the regulator was kind enough to accept an increased number of restructures that we can give for our customers, debt relief that we can give for our customers, and we are going to do that. There are customers who have gone through up to 3 restructures for COVID. Think about a school; they've not received any money for the better part of 18 months. So, what am I collecting against for a school? So we've taken an approach of being empathetic with our clients to extend their loan tenors as much as possible. Now, you asked another question in there: are we lending? Yes, we definitely are, because as I mentioned in the beginning, we have sectors of the economy that are thriving, that need money to continue pushing. And those we are lending actively. And even for our small and medium-sized enterprises, we are lending right now. The economy is open. There's a need and requirement for them to stock up, to pay their taxes. We are definitely open for business. It's that we have to be very responsible to as we go about this activity of lending to our clients. But we're definitely lending, and for the customers that struggled, the tourism industry, we have continuously given relief, and will continue to provide this relief until a point in time when they are on their feet and can be sustainable, because we're not in a real estate business that we're here to sell people's property. No, that's not what we do for
no, most of the people who put in their securities claim that you people sell them off after fail to clear off with the loans. This is part and parcel of banking, but I can tell you for a fact is we will give our customers every leeway to ensure that they are resurrecting as a business and have an ability to repay their loans and stay open and pay their workers. And even where more debt is required for them to recover, we will continue to support. I can't speak to what other banks have done, and these are not stories that I've heard about or can talk about from a Stanbic perspective. But I can't comment on other banks' principles and policies. What I can tell you is, as an institution, as Stanbic Bank, we are continuing to support our customers and live with them through this period, and be as empathetic as possible towards how we approach these restructures. Mm-hmm. And of course, we are saying, and we're actually discussing of how we can finance the recovery of an economy that is trying to restabilize, or in a way that we have to put it back to the level where the Minister of Finance and Economic Development must say that the economy is on is on a high speed. So clearly we want to see how far does the economy go to. But during the lockdown, a number of things have been happening because most of the people were home and they spend most of their time on social media. And banks were already put into play this time around in the fact that most of the people were claiming out that the bank charges more so when it comes to mobile banking. And I can assure you, I'm now dealing with the right person at this particular moment, with Mr. Aaron Akampa, and he's going to take me through the digital banking procedures and these charges that most people claim and say charges with the digital banking is quite different from that of the main transactions that someone can actually carry out. How is digital banking, and of what risk does it offer? Does it actually put a banker? And also, what do you advise anyone out there who's still thinking digital banking is not the way to go? Because we're literally advising people to tap into digital spaces, adopting e-commerce, but digital banking still has an issue in regards to charges.
Thank you. Again, thank you for a fantastic question. The digital channels, our digital channels, I can guarantee, are a lot cheaper than getting into your car, driving to the nearest banking hall, and transacting, and all the chaos that comes with, not even mentioning the health implications, being in the middle of a pandemic. At the peak of the first lockdown, we actually, through support from our telecommunication partners, were able to reduce our digital fees, and that transpired. But there is always a cost to every activity, or because there's systems that are powering these digital platforms that need to also be paid for and maintained. And also they ensure that we have the utmost security. For our people or our customers that have a fear for digital platforms, I can tell you that our digital platforms as Stanbic Bank are very safe, are very secure. They're efficient and fast, and they will save you a lot of time and money if you transact digitally. And we've been working every single day to enhance our digital capabilities as a financial institution, and we'll continue to do so, addressed by the needs of the customer, best addressed by the needs of our customers, who are continuously giving us feedback, who are continuously telling us, this is why you need to improve. We'll continue to improve. I mean, this digital journey is, again, it's one that's been going on for some time now, but I can tell you we're barely scratching the surface. The things that are coming your way, please do stay tuned. Next time I come through, I will be taking you through some other new interventions. But please utilize our digital channels because they save you a lot of time and hassle, and I can guarantee a lot cheaper than any physical channel that you may use.
All right, now let's talk about agents, the bank agents that are in different areas. The financial institutions, I think most of the financial institutions in Uganda did start opening up bank agents in the different areas, on a community level, to see that they can actually extend these services to the people that don't have branches in those areas. But the other problem that we have is the fact that earlier this month I did actually report a story regarding one of the financial institutions in Uganda having had cases in regards to fraud in the bank, in the bank agents. I want to understand, are you the ones that, if you're regulating these banks and these agents, how far do you go in terms of the regulations, and how much, okay, like if I am to say on a scale of money, which transactions are they supposed to carry out? Because if it's fraud, then that means a number of millions that are incurred.
So first and foremost, the agency banking channel was created to decentralize banking and bring banking closer to the people. I mean, if you look at we are the bank with the most branches, and that's 79 in total.
Okay.
But if you look at the geographical coverage of the country, how many sub-counties, how many parishes are there. So we had to, as a financial industry, taking learnings out of other countries and other markets that had gone this route, we introduced agency banking to ensure that even at the even in your village, you're able to access banking services, because we don't want to be restrictive of our clients' ability to reach us. So from a principal's perspective, agency banking is a fantastic initiative. Now, as with any, so our agents are vetted. There's KYC done on each and every one of them. There's a regulatory approval for them before they are even put on the street. So we know our agents, we know what they do. Now, when situations happen, whether it's fraud, or that's usually human nature and human character. But what I can tell you is our customers' deposits are safe. Customers, there's nothing, there's where anywhere there's human interference or human interaction, you can't have a foolproof system of anything. But this should never deter or deter our teams from our customers from utilizing our agency channels, because they are safe and they are secure. We've not had a customer incident where a customer claims that their money is lost or that there's been any fraud on a customer's account. That's speaking for Stanbic Bank and Stanbic Bank alone. So where you have any kind of unscrupulous characters, it's being dealt through the right channels, and that's pretty much all I can say on that.
Okay, and I've always had an issue in regards to financial institutions in the country in accounts opening. And accounts opening, of recent I did have an interview with a lawyer who was taking me through and the Act of the Payment Systems Act of 2020. He was saying it is regulating mobile money and other banking situations. But I want to understand, are there some extra charges that are into these documents when people are opening up bank accounts? Because sometimes people do not go through, and most of people will have to sign off immediately. Are there these extra charges that are never into this into these documents that are always in process by the time the account is already open?
No, account opening is absolutely free for our bank. Feel free to walk into a Stanbic Bank and open an account. For our individuals, we have an option for you to open your account online. I think that was a very important intervention, especially in the middle of a pandemic when transportation and mobility was a challenge. So there are no hidden fees or any hidden charges to opening an account. We encourage you to come join us
because that is
and
the
experience
worry people
this.
have.
No,
there's some hidden charges that you never know.
No.
And at the end of the day, when you're carrying out a transaction, is when you realize that.
No, so by law, Bank of Uganda does publish all the bank charges. I would encourage you to pick out a piece or a copy of that. All financial institutions regulated by Bank of Uganda are mandated to publish all our charges, and you can feel free to have a look at that and ensure that what is being published is in line with what you're being charged.
Okay, yes. Lastly, let me run to let's get to this. What is the role of the Uganda financial institutions, whether both government or non-government, in uplifting an economy? Mainly, if at all we are now in a situation where we want to re-stabilize.
Yeah.
What is the role of, let me say, the Bank of Uganda or the other banking institutions in Uganda? Which role do they play? I know you've never wanted to say we should focus more on the role of one individual, but then I want to understand, what is the role of this?
Okay, so thanks for that question. The financial institutions have a very important role to play with regards to economic recovery. We provide the necessary thought leadership. We provide the necessary platform and liquidity for our businesses to recover, because by offering them loans or credit at competitive rates by facilitating their ability to transact through digital channels or digital platforms, an ability to interact amongst themselves by facilitating trade, both local and international. You are working towards an economic recovery. And I want you to remember that financial services go beyond just your typical banking to cover elements of insurance and investment. So we have to think collaboratively and bring, and we're working to bring a lot of our insurance services, a lot of our investment services closer to our customers as well. All that is geared towards ensuring that the recovery of the economy happens and happens at a relatively fast rate. This is all guided by economic policy, so if it's not enough for us to run around, government does have to come in and support, and they really have. They've come in to provide relief through Uganda Development Bank. But even as commercial banks, we have to do our part in ensuring that, one, we are giving out debt the right way, it's not reckless. Two, that the money that we give out actually has economic impact for the person at the bottom of the pyramid. It's not just tiered towards our big corporations and big companies. And through our Economic Restart Fund, as an example, we are working towards that. We are working towards being very deliberate about bringing our economy back to life, impacting our circles, our cooperatives, our savings groups, impacting our small and medium-sized businesses, and continuing to be the facilitators for exchange of value amongst players within the economy. That's the role of the financial services industry. It's not as important as it sounds, but it's very important that we maintain and keep that attitude and stay positive and optimistic about the recovery of the economy, because if we don't do our part, then it will be slower than.
Oh, okay. A quick one. I want your opinion on this. Do you think by 2025 this economy would have been a bit stabilized? If, let me say, the government can mitigate these issues of COVID, do you think it can be stabilized?
I want to believe by 2025 that we should not have only stabilized but have taken off as an economy. And I base this off the developments within the oil and gas space. I don't expect that the financial investment decision will delay for another 3 years. That would be disaster. But if once FID is out and we have investment continuing to happen within the oil and gas space, that should dramatically help the economy on its recovery path. As we think about the refinery and the pipeline and all the expectation on investment by both government and our partners, we would be geared for takeoff. That's not disregarding the other industries, but it's also very important that we think about our health. So the vaccination drive, we have to, I don't know if you've got your jab, but we need to think about it, because the more we vaccinate, the more we create herd immunity, the more our tourism industry can start to recover. We need our tourism industry. It's very important, the tourism and hospitality space, because it spurs on other economic activity. There's a trickle-down effect of tourism thriving in Uganda. And we're a very beautiful country. It would be sad to think or allow for it to deteriorate. So that would be my 2 cents. We are definitely going to recover. And I hope, or my hope is, we recover together, as opposed to only a few people.
Obviously, because I think everyone wants to recover. Your final assessments, because I guess that we're getting off the show, but your final assessments in regards to anything.
No, thank you to Smart TV for hosting me on this beautiful morning, and for caring about our country and our businesses. I think I welcome your viewers to Stanbic Bank to try out our experience. We are the #1 bank in the country for a reason, and we welcome our clients and our customers to continue to interact with us and tell us where we can improve and do better. But also we stand with them in some of these very trying times. That is a commitment from myself and everybody else at Stanbic Bank.
All right. That is the question that we will definitely be leaving out to you. Did you get your job? Because if you get your job, it is definitely going to be a very good journey for us to take center stage in fighting COVID. It is actually boosting our immunity. And then secondly, businesses are going to thrive if at all we are back into action. I kind of feel envious when every time I watch football matches and you're seeing crowds in Europe all flooded, and it's quite difficult for some of us. And you could see all sectors are getting back to normal. And clearly the hospitality and tourism sector, or even the leisure sector, should actually be looked at. And the only way we can take part is if we accept to grow together, we accept the jab, and see that our economy goes back to where it's supposed to be as we stabilize. Our topic today was definitely looking at how we can finance the economic recovery of Uganda. And mainly it is a topic that is still ongoing because we are still looking at a way we can restabilize and rejuvenate our economy. I'm Joram Paul Sonko. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Joram Paul Sonko. This is Smart 24 TV on all social media platforms. If at all you want to give us your feedback in regards to that, we drive your business, and this is SMB, and it's a goodbye for now.